Okay, we are live. This is incredible. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Influencer Mindset Podcast. Today, we have an extraordinary guest who is truly a force of positivity and wisdom, Nili Salem, a multi talented individual hailing from Los Angeles, California. Nili's journey is as diverse as her skill set. With a master's in non-profit management and philanthropy studies, she combines her love for Torah with her passions for drum playing, niggun singing, and narrative therapy. Her teachings and insights have touched the hearts of many, earning her the title of a spiritual leader, and her infectious smile has endeared her for countless followers worldwide. Originally starting her path as a vocalist and an actor, Neely expanded her horizons by researching the psychology, personal growth, practices, spirituality, and religions of numerous cultures across 50 different countries. Her minded, almost hippie approach to teaching Torah has garnered her a devoted following in Los Angeles, where she conducts her free for all classes in various locations, creating a unique and transformative learning experience for everyone. Now, without further ado, let's dive into this captivating episodes and explore the profound journey and wisdom of Nili Salem. But before we do that, I just want to say that this episode is co-sponsored by anywherekosher.com. Go check them out. Beautiful website for like-minded Jewish people, anywherekosher.com. How are you today, Nili Salem?
Praise the Lord. I had a great day. I dove in, I had a delicious coffee, had an amazing planning meeting for this retreat coming up in Tulum. I had a client, it was epic, and now this. So thank God, all good things.
That's incredible, Neely. We really waited a long time to get you on this podcast, and I'm glad that we are doing this right now before uh, the fest of Tisha B'Av, which a lot of people seeing it as like a heavy, sad, day. But hopefully, we're gonna try to make it a little bit better for them with this podcast. So I want to really kind of start with a question about your journey that you took to 50 different countries. That's really impressive. You immerse yourself in various cultures. I mean, 50 different places in the world. That's really, really something that not everybody has the merit to do. How has this extensive exploration influenced your perspective on Torah and spirituality?
Aha. Okay. All right, here we go. No big question or anything. Well, okay, I can tell you the thing that stands out for me right away in terms of what it's like to have had the privilege to travel places far and wide is that at the end of the day, the truth emerges in every culture. At the end of the day, we're far more similar than we are different. At the end of the day, you really see that everyone gets their dose of challenges from the Lord, no matter what they are, and that you might experience opposite challenges. So, for example, somebody in Africa might be living in total poverty, but they're in great joy, while you're thriving financially, but in great misery. So really, Hashem knows what He's doing in terms of giving us all of our challenges, and then in terms of our similarities. Gosh, it's just really reaffirming that we're all one. It's really, really reaffirming that we're all in this together. And it's really, truly humbling to get to see how people around the world live and not to take anything for granted or for assumed. I actually think it really is really important to realize this in the time period we're in, because we have a tendency to look outwards and think oh, this person's that, this person's this. Is oh no, we are all going through the same stuff. And if we can, continually enhance our sensitivity towards other humans, to just know that everyone's going through something and that we're so much more alike in our pursuits of happiness and authenticity. That's really what I gather no matter where I go. You know, you could be chilling with like when I was a young woman traveling in Africa, I used to hang out with the guys at the fast food place. It was like just a place on the side of the road. And like they'd let me like come behind and serve people. And it, you know, when you get down to it, we're all just humans trying to appreciate the blessing of being alive in search of being more authentic. So that's a beautiful part of the travel.
That's quite fascinating. I mean, going through all these cultures and then going back to your own root and finding that actually your own culture, where you come from, has all those amazing wisdoms, and finding that connection through there. So kind of like all this exploration kind of brought you back home, pretty much, back to who you truly are, to the authentic you.
Oh God, we're going here. All right. You know, Uzi, I'll be honest with you. A lot of my exploration and travel did bring me back home to Judaism, but I don't think it was in the healthiest way. And it's taking me 15, 17 years to try to break down the wall. I'm trying to destroy my own personal temple so that I could rebuild a more authentic one. I think a lot of what happened in terms of coming back home to Judaism as a balat tshuva, let's say, is actually now looking back on it, honestly, Uzi, I was desperately trying to be good and to be perceived of as good. This wasn't conscious at all, but I had this idea, and I've spoken about this with a few girlfriends who kind of came back to Judaism. Is there's this sort of weird brainwashing that says like the more religious you are, the better you are, and the stricter you are, the better you are. And if you're really in search of trying to fulfill your childhood fears that maybe you're not good or good enough, it's really quite easy to get into religion and dogma and use that as validation as to why I am good. And so actually the truth is it brought me home, but in a really unhealthy way. And so, you know, only now am I starting to see my ego pursuit. And I think a lot of the travels was ego pursuit as well, pursuing glory, trying to make a name for myself without really realizing it. But that's what culture tells you to do. They say, if you're well traveled, then you're cool. And if you're religious, then you're good. So I was just following formulas, if we're being really, really honest. Now, thank God, through enough breakdown and enough challenges and MStic, truthful spiritual searching, I trying to let go of all of that and really find out how to serve God authentically. Um,
I see. So pretty much you're saying that, some part of religion, when it comes to the restriction and the guilt feeling of it, it's not really something that you kind of help you much. But then you had to find your own kind of way. So so let's just go.
can I interrupt you?
Yeah,
It's stuff
sure.
the opposite. I loved the restrictions. They were safe for me. The
Mhm.
guilt worked really well with childhood trauma. It all felt really comfortable. So it's actually the opposite. Those worked really
Oh,
well, but then I had to get a lot more honest with myself and say, why am I doing this? And am I doing this authentically? But I apologize. I'm working on not interrupting, and I just did it.
no, no, please interrupt me, because was a very important interruption. So you were like a singer, and you were doing acting, and this is and directing, and then you were helping in homeless shelters, right? As well, which is quite amazing. So your experiences are truly diverse. So how does all these seemingly unrelated endeavors complements your role as a Torah teacher and a spiritual leader? Because let me tell you something. I know I've been participating in some of your events, and I know that once you throw out, a Facebook post, there's going to be hundreds of people showing up, and this is pretty much unbelievable thing. And it's thank God that I've noticed that it's growing, and it should be growing, because you're truly doing a remarkable job, and the way you teach Torah is really impressive. But again, there is no buts. But I'm just trying to understand really how, from singing, acting, helping in homeless shelters, and then bringing all these unrelated things and turning it into one.
Great question. Um, so immediately, what comes to me when you ask me that question is the common thread is the quest for sincerity, and I think I tried a lot of different avenues in my life for different reasons. Singing was a lifetime passion, still is, and I was going there as a pursuit of my passions. I then abandoned it because I got religious, which is like mind blowing, right? How to navigate like pursuing the depths and joys of our heart. And that's for a whole nother story. So that I abandoned it in quest of something that I thought in a way that I could be better, right? Again, it was a lot of ego pursuit. Um, and and gosh, let's say homeless shelters, it was really a wild experience. I sort of became, they used to call me Neo instead of Nili because I had this like weird, like golden touch where I'd go out fundraising and just bring in like thousands every day. And it was like this weird experience. But again, it was rubbing on my ego. And so I think that in my younger years, not that I'm still not young, but there was a lot of trying to pursue my path in life for what looked good. It wasn't conscious of it at the time. I do give myself credit. You know, I was really trying to do what was good and right in the world. But at the end of it, and I'm still trying to figure it out. I don't know what I work as a therapist. I'm trying to teach Torah, but I still have no clue what I'm here for. All I know, and I think the authentic thing, and perhaps why there is a call to the classes, is because I'm really trying to show up real with people in a real way and not, I really want to acknowledge where I did things for my ego, and I want to acknowledge where I was insecure, and I want to acknowledge where there was arrogance so that I can come to, again, I think part of it is growing up here in LA. There's a lot of like glory and fame and like, I hope your Instagram looks great. And like, there's like this whole like outward ego-y thing. And I think a lot of my journey has been coming back and looking at that honestly and now being real with people. And it's sort of the fuel, you know, they say like, remember we had photos and there was a negative and then it becomes a positive. So this is like shadow work. It's like a lot of what I practice in my practice is like the negative impression, like this need to fill a certain role or to look a certain way was an unhealthy thing. But thank God it's translating now into a really genuine search. And I hope that I'm approaching Torah honestly like that. Like, you know, thank God you've actually hosted some of our Torah events. And I think a lot of the pull is we're going to be really real here tonight. We're going to share what we really feel and we're going to get really honest and authentic. I hope that's the pull. That's what attracts me in other people that I view as spiritual role models or leaders is, all right, how real are we being? How authentic, how genuine, how vulnerable? You're going to lay it out for me. So I hope to serve the community in that way.
That
That's to me
that
the thread
is
of all of the journeys coming together is
Yeah, absolutely. This is kind of like the motto of this podcast. It's the idea that we are influencers, but we have to influence from a place where it's really not about us. It's not about us. It's about the message. It's about the content. It's about the change that we wanna, you know, obviously start with ourselves and then see it in the world, and it should never really be about us, and it should never, a true influencer doesn't put themselves in the center. It's not about, yeah, I mean, we want to know your story, we want to know your journey, we want to hear it because we want to get inspired how you get to a point where you are beaming light, and people want to beam light. I mean, people, the truth of the matter is that people really want to be positive influencers, and we all seeking, like you said before, we all seeking love and connection and belonging. So, so as a Torah teacher with a free spirited and almost a hippie approach, I don't know if hippie is the right word here.
the right approach. People have been to our after parties, they'll confirm that it's hippie.
Yeah, it's pretty free spirited, that's for sure. Which is something that it's very very needed, because after all, we know that the key to everything is joy and happiness. We have to kind of bring that joy to be able to become creative. When people are in a survival mode, creativity is not really their strong part. So we have to get out of this survival mode through joy and happiness. But how do you balance tradition, with the freedom to explore new ideas and interpretations? If you know what I'm
Oh,
saying.
how do I balance tradition with freedom of exploring new traditions? I pray my brains out and shake my boots out. I have no idea how to strike this balance. I hold fear, and I'm not sure if it's healthy fear or unhealthy fear. I hold fear around messing up God's world because a lot of times I don't like what the Torah says, and a lot of times I'm angry at the sages, and I don't want to do those things. And I don't want to mess up God's world. And I do believe there's a lot of wisdom in those sages in our traditions. So there's a lot of fear that I don't know everything. In fact, I know barely anything. Um, so yeah, I hold a lot of fear for and respect and honor for our tradition and the giants that came before me. And then I also hold a lot of love for the people around me and knowing that like we're all going through stuff and we need upliftment and we need to be met where we're at. Um, and I think that a lot of times these come into contradiction and I'd rather bring them into embrace. Like, yeah, I'm scared, pardon my language, shitless about Torah and the things that it says and what we're supposed to be doing and the things that I'm not doing. And at the same time, I think maybe a lot of us are. So let's hold this together and let's walk this path together and just talk about it honestly. So I don't know if that answered your question, but yeah, I really hold both. I hold tremendous awe of what our tradition has given us to this day and the ways that it's protected us from a lot of the like really awful cultural values, or I'm judging them as awful. Um, and then a lot of love and heart space for all of us that are like thirsty for depth and meaning and connection and belonging and yeah, really depth. I don't know
Yeah.
if that answered your question, but that's what came
No,
out.
that's definitely answered my question, because I mean, religion, let's be honest, have a terrible reputation. When it comes to religion, especially instituted religion, nobody wants to get involved in this because, I mean,
Yes.
we're hearing, all kinds of stories, even in Christianity, what priests are doing, and even in Judaism. It's just not really something that, a modern human being wants to get involved with. But, on the other hand, what we see is that people are starting to understand that there is oneness to creation, and science is kind of starting to catch up with the quantum field and quantum physics, and the belief in the creator is starting to become somewhat of a normal thing. People are starting to understand there is something greater than me in the world, and I need to have, a relationship with that thing. And and sometimes religion does the opposite. It's kind of takes people apart from that, and people, forget that they are part of something greater. And I think that part of what society is trying to do is trying to make us think that we are just simple regular people, yet we are unlimited human beings, souls trapped in a physical body, unlimited souls trapped in a physical body. And I think that what you are doing is actually part of making that, bringing that message to the world, that you shouldn't be, so concerned about, religion as a something that if you're going to believe in God, then you're going to have all those things that you need to do, and you're going to have to constantly live in guilt. Yeah, there is a lot of things that people need to do when they become religious, but the main thing, and I think is developing that approach that first, let's be happy, let's rejoice, let's celebrate the idea that we are created beings, rather than live in fear. Oh, I didn't do this, I didn't do this, or constantly, be busy and miss out on the creator, pretty much, because this is the sad part of what was the consequence of religion, that it created, it made people most humanity pretty much in the Western world distant from the Creator because of that fear of they're going to judge me or what I'm going to have to do. So,
Fear, guilt, shame, judgment of others, really, because once I think that this is good for me, then if you're doing it, then you're bad. Like, so it's I'm sorry to
right,
interrupt you again. And Reb Shlomo Karlibach said something beautiful. I can't quote it exactly, but he said something along the lines of, you're getting holier if you're getting closer to other people and yourself. And
that's
if
beautiful.
not, if it's the opposite, then it's mamish the opposite. And it's like, or my favorite Ram Dass quote is, treat everybody like God in drag. Like, these are the foundations of tuning into a spiritual existence. Is, do you look around and see that each person is my deepest teacher, and see that each person is just a refraction of God's life, and see that the person in front of me is the person I'm meant to love right now. Those are like the basics. Then once we start there, then we can start getting wise and learned and whatever. I bless myself. I bless you. I bless everybody that we can start on those foundations. It's honor, you know.
Yeah,
I actually had a really interesting thing come up that I was really proud of myself for. Can I share a tiny story?
absolutely.
Because what I'm trying to do essentially is heal my religiosity that started in such a broken place. So I was in the car this week with a relative of mine who is not familiar with Judaism. They're Jewish, but they don't know anything about Judaism. They're a younger relative, and we were driving together, and they were like, "Oh, Nili, you got to hear this song." And they were so excited about it. And it was such an upbeat song. And I'm sitting there going like, okay, it's the 9 days. I don't really listen to music. That's not, I can do that without like getting upset at God. So I practice that one. And it was this moment of where years ago I may have said like, oh, like I don't listen to music. It's the 9 days. And I had this like humility check. Like, this young person in my family is so excited to show me a song. And I just sat there with this person. I'm like, yeah, this song is awesome. And it wasn't a disgrace to the burning temples. And it wasn't in God's face. It was like, oh, this is how to serve God right now. Not by telling this person, we need to turn off what brings you joy, but by just appreciating that they wanted to share something with me. And I felt like such an internal religious win. I felt like in that moment, in listening to music in the 9 days, blasting, I tried a little bit to like not dance so much, but like, I felt like in that moment I was being religious because I was really honoring the other person and not embarrassing them. And I don't know, that just felt like a tiny win in terms of my hopes for how to be a servant of God.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, listen, in some circles that's going to be controversial, but I'm with you on that because, you
Ta-da!
know, I'm so with
Controversial.
you on that because, like, hurting somebody's feeling, in that moment would have been so much worse, I mean, because if we really understand what God is, it's everything that exists, it's the only reality that exists. So if there is something in our reality that needs a certain attention, not to get hurt or not to feel excluded or weird, then this is our job to make them feel okay. And instead of hurting them in the name of,
God.
whatever,
In the name of God. In the name of God, you are doing wrong things. And it's like,
yeah, in the name of God, in the name of
uh,
God. But again, most of the stuff and the laws and the crazy restrictions are rabbinical. And if you really look at the actual Torah, there is a
oh, you're
lot less.
getting controversial now.
Yeah, yeah. It's not that, God forbid, I'm saying that the rabbinical mitzvahs are not important. Everything is important to a certain degree, and everybody in their own level should do whatever they can do. But again, this is really an amazing story, an amazing example that you gave, and I'm with you on that. Definitely not to hurt somebody's feeling. So let's just kind of move forward a little bit with the conversation
Yalla.
and see if we are talk about your smile is infectious
Thank you.
and positivity radiates from your teachings. How do you navigate challenging times while maintaining this uplifting and motivational outlook?
Well, first of all, thank you. Second of all, the smile is not my responsibility. My father was an orthodontist. So I was
Okay.
just a business card, okay? This is how we made money in our family. Stop, I'm joking. Positivity. Ask me the question again. How do I maintain positivity through life's challenging times? That's the question.
Exactly. So you radiate positivity and with your teaching, but sometimes people go through challenging times, and so the question is, how do you navigate challenging times while maintaining this uplifting and motivational outlook on life?
Okay. All right, here we go. So this is going to tie into the therapy practice. And it's interesting. I was podcasting yesterday with Rabbi Moshe Esakon, and he asked a very similar question. I'm going to give a very similar answer because it's real. Um, when we go through challenging times, it is not actually the circumstances of our lives that bring us down. It's actually the beliefs that we have about ourselves, which make us feel, pardon my language, like crap. So if I'm going through a time where I'm not making money, let's say, so you could say that's a challenging time, but really it's not the not making money that's challenging. It's my belief that I'm a loser or not good enough. Or let's say I have a breakup with a guy that I'm dating, and it feels horrible. Well, it's not the breakup that's bad. It's my belief about myself that, let's say, I'm unlovable or unwanted. So thank God I have this training as a therapist, and I've been working in the world of consciousness and plant medicine for years. And what I've learned, and what I really bless everybody listening to, really, if this is eye opening, I hope it's like super huge for everyone, is that really it's pointing to our shame. And it's our shame that makes us feel bad. So what do you do? What do you do when life is difficult and you want to stay positive? So you realize, oh my gosh, I feel this thing about myself. Okay. And then at that moment, when you can identify the shame, you can also identify that that shame is not there for nothing. That the fear of being that thing, a loser, a failure, unwanted, or unlovable, is my guide and my teacher to those to the to to honestly to accepting all the parts of myself. Because once I can accept those places where I'm ashamed of myself, then I can begin to accept the places where I'm freaking awesome and where I'm rad and where I'm epic. And then once I can hold the whole spectrum, I hold the whole bandwidth, then a person can achieve true unconditional love and humility. And when you have unconditional love, no matter what you're going through, you just know, like, okay, I'm going through a dark period. I'm experiencing shame. Now, can I love and accept myself and hold myself through this? Because I'm not the worst. That's ego. I'm the worst. I'm a loser. I'm a failure. I'm unwanted. That's just ego. It's like, yeah, I am. I'm my worst day. I'm all of those things. But I'm also amazing and epic. And I don't mean me. I mean all of us. So how do you navigate the circumstances of your life when they're difficult? You hold yourself with humility. Yeah, so, okay. So I struggled with laziness today. So I was a monster of a human being. So I was arrogant. So I was narcissistic. I also have these dreams of being selfless and giving and loving and wise, and I'm all of it. In Hebrew, unconditional love is, it's, in English, let's say you're doing EFT tapping. This is one of the things that I practice. It works on your Chinese energy meridians, and it's a way of bypassing your conscious brain, entering your subconscious brain, so you can love and accept yourself unconditionally. But in Hebrew, we say accepting hakol sheli, the all of me. And that really unconditional love is saying that I don't just love myself when I'm thriving and successful and I have a good hair day, and that I'm going to love myself in the difficult circumstances of life, because this is part of the heartbeat, the expansion, contraction. This is life. And if I don't love myself through all of it, I'm abandoning myself. And if I'm abandoning myself, of course, it's going to feel terrible. So I think the key in difficult times is never abandon yourself. We all go through the crunk. We all find out awful things about ourselves. All of our childhood fears are confirmed. And what do you do then? You just hold yourself and say, I'm going to accept the full package, because on my worst day, I really suck. And on my best day, I'm really awesome. And most of the time, I'm just all of it. And that's okay. It's okay to be all of it. We're all of it. We don't have to deny our shadows and our darkness. Like that's when we're in a civil war with ourselves during the difficult times. And it's like, I don't need to be at civil war. I'm all of it. Hakol shali. I accept all of me. And that means that I accept that I'm going to have hard times, and I'm accept that I'm going to have hard days and hard periods. Okay. Acceptance is humility, essentially. Because I'm not trying to fight that I have bad times and bad parts. Like, duh, yin and yang, we're all of it. Yeah. So how do you navigate the difficult times in your life? You accept that that means you're human, and you hold yourself through it, and you don't diss on yourself and come down on your head with a hard on yourself hammer. You want to get out of it, be loving, gentle, kind, accepting, compassionate, and empathetic. That will help me want to get out of bed. If I'm putting a hammer over my head for the times that are hard and why I'm so bad, then I want to stay in bed and be less productive and be, show up less. But if it's okay that I mess up and it's okay that I have hard times, then I could show up in front of you because, yeah, of course have hard times and struggles and shame and fear. Like, yeah, and that's okay.
Do you
And
use
once it's
any?
okay, yeah.
Yeah. Do you use any type of meditation or something like? Let's just say you're right in front of a big class or event that you have to speak or teach, and just like something, somebody bumped into your car or something happened. Like, do you do any type of practice before, like a meditation? Do you meditate on something to kind of uplift yourself, or you just go out there and just do your thing?
Yes and yes. So, yes, I practice meditation as often as I can. That might help just keep a general equilibrium. Yes, before each class, what I do, and each therapy session, this is like huge. I won't start a therapy session without it. And sometimes if I forget, I'll realize minutes in. The first thing I do is exactly like this. Actually, I wanted to do it with us, but I forgot. I take a few breaths just to like center and become present. And then I talk to God and I say, hey, God, thank you so much for bringing me on Uzi's podcast. Please help me clear myself out of the way and just let you come through. And then I'll just go into gratitude. Thank you, Hashem, for technology. Thank you, Hashem, for this moment. Please put the words in my heart. I just ask to get cleared out of the way because it's not about me. I'm just a tzinor. I'm just a pipe. David Sachs was saying in Shul this week that tzinor is just the rearranged words of ratzon. To be a channel for God's will, you have to be a channel, which means you have to clear yourself out, get that ego out of the way, which is why it's really important to stop being hard on ourselves, because being hard on ourselves is really just arrogance. Like, I should be better because I'm so great. And it's like, so yeah, I think so. It's the meditative practice. It's the prayer before I ever speak or come into a therapy session. And really, it's this continued practice of not being hard on myself, being loving and empathetic and understanding towards myself. Because this is a long ride. If I be hard on myself the whole way, it ain't gonna be pretty and it ain't gonna feel good, and I ain't gonna be able to stand up in front of 100 people with a smile. So it's really kindness to self, which
It's
again is the foundation of being kind to others, which is really what we were talking about in the beginning and the essence of rebuilding the temple. Kindness.
That's beautiful, and thank you for that meditation. I really like that. It's getting yourself out, so the creator can come in, which is really really meditative. So with your extensive knowledge of different religions, how do you find common threads that connects people of various faiths, fostering a sense of unity and understanding, if you know what I'm saying?
I don't know if I have to foster anything or find any common threads. It's just what is. It's just the humanity. It's just when anyone, I think my favorite part of the week is when our housekeeper comes. She's such a devout Christian. And believe it or not, she's one of the only people that like right away we launch into like gratitude towards God. And we like, before she starts working, we like have a coffee date and come to tears every time because both of us are just really wanting to serve God. And so that we don't need a common thread. Maybe gratitude is the common thread of any real servant of God. Gratitude for the great, amazing things, and gratitude for the things that bring us to tears of pain. I don't have to sow anything or do anything. I think when you try to stand in presence and in service, that's there in any, hopefully in any faith. I don't have to do anything.
That's that's amazing. I mean, that's amazing. That I like that story with your housekeeper, because we all really are all, kind of like one and the same in a way. So your journey has been filled with diverse experiences.
Yes.
What advice would you give to those seeking to find their purpose and embrace their unique path in life? Because you know how nobody, one of the questions we've been asked as children, what would you like to be when you grow up? And some people, they're still in their 40s, and they still don't know.
Hi.
But obviously, I think you kind of found your purpose as somebody who is spreading, positivity and joy to your niggunim, your shofar. Yeah, I mean, the journey never ends, and there's a long way to go, and everything like
Lizzie, I'm
that.
freaking clueless. No, don't put that on me. I don't want anyone to think that I've found my purpose, because I don't want anyone to feel the pressure of it either. I have no idea what I'm doing here. I'm sorry. I could give you some insights though, because I obviously have searched for this question.
Okay,
I'd
yeah,
actually like to
please,
ask you this
and I'm
question
sure,
in return.
yeah, and I'm sure the listeners would want to know,
Yeah. Okay.
if they really, struggle with that questions, or they feel like, stuck in something, or they want to really, get on the path to their unique mission and
Okay.
purpose.
Okay. I have three answers and a return question. Okay.
Okay.
So I'm going to start with two things that I try to follow in order to be on my authentic path, which I don't know. I think it's going to be consistently changing. I have a story after that. So my first answer, the first thing that came to me as I was just listening, was advice. Okay, so I can't give advice yet. I'm not 50. 40, they say you reach Bina. I'm not 40 yet, but at 40, you reach Bina, you reach understanding of everything that you've learned. It like kind of drops into your center, but only at 50 you could give advice. I can't give advice, but I could share what I do. That mostly is listening to my intuition. How do I know what to do, where to go, who to go out with on a certain day, what activity to do, if I should go work out or if I should take a nap or if I should do work? I listen and I ask and I listen. I really believe the voice of our soul calls strong with intuition. And the reason I can trust my intuition is because I have also spent a lot of years clearing out the dreck and the garbage from my life. Like I stopped watching movies and TV a long time ago, only if they're super clean and educational. And and I also try to keep away from certain cultural influences that I think will mess with internal clarity. I think davening every day also helps clear that. You see, we all have this sinor. We're all this sinor to God. And the question is, how much junk do we fill it with? And also junk food. You eat very healthfully. I try to maintain a healthy lifestyle, because what happens is the sinor gets clogged and it's staticky, and people are like, oh, why aren't I inspired? Well, God is trying to come through and funnel through with all of your unique light and energy, and it's like bad plumbing. So first of all, clearing that out so you can hear the voice of God, which you hear through your own soul, so that you can trust your intuition. Part one. Part two is trusting the process. How do you follow your unique path is to stop fighting ourselves. Trust the timing, trust the process. It's like one of my favorite, embarrassed to say this, but Christian rock songs. I have a taiva for Christian rock songs. I know David Sachs told me it's asura, I can't do it, but I'm weaning. I'm weaning off of it. But there's this one song. It goes, maybe it's okay if I'm not okay, 'cause the one who holds the stars is holding on to me. Maybe it's all right if I'm not all right, 'cause the one who holds the world is holding my whole life. And the meaning of this is like, wait, I'm tripping out over here because something's not going well, do I realize that God is holding each star and planet in perfect orbit and what he forgot about me in my life? So I need to freak out? No, I don't. I can trust. So first is listening to intuition. Second is trust. And now I want to give you a story. Is that okay?
Absolutely. Go for it.
Okay. Thank you. So I was living in Bat Ain in Israel. Bat Ain is a settlement, if you want to call it that. It's a very controversial settlement because there's no fence. Anyhow, I was learning Torah there. I was working in a seminary called Beirut Bat Ain. Super cool for any Jewish hippie chicks that want to, explore Torah in the land. They garden, they do yoga, they do herbology. It's super cool. Anyhow, so I was working and teaching there, and I was really wondering, like, this question that you asked me: how do you find your purpose? How do you find your unique path? Like, how do I know what I'm here for? How do I do this? So I had this brilliant idea, humble. And I invited three of the women in the community that I thought were like super duper holy and wise. One had like 10 kids. One had like a paralyzed husband that she was taking care of her whole life. One, her husband was killed in a terrorist attack and she went through cancer. So these were like deep women, these were like wise, grounded, humble women. And I took them out for lunch at this delicious restaurant called Gavna, and I ordered everything just to keep them around longer. I was like, yes, milkshakes, yes, appetizers, yes, dessert. I just like wanted to soak in their wisdom. And so I said, like, how do I know who I am? How do I know what I'm supposed to do? And one of the women said something so profound. She said, Nili, that's a really silly question. Know who you are? She's like, I'm so different from when I was 20. Then I was 30 and 40, and now I'm 50. I'm so different every year, every decade. She's like, I don't ask myself how to find out who I am or what my path is anymore. I wake up every day and I say, God, how do I serve you today? God, how do I serve you right now? God, who am I supposed to be in this minute? And I really appreciated that because I think there's a lot of pressure to find who we are, what we're meant to do. And man, I don't know if there's an answer to that. At least in my life, it changes often. So I just appreciate that, like taking off the pressure and just like today, how do I serve God? How do I serve the world? How do I be in my happiest self? How do I listen to my intuition? How do I trust the process? And then like answers come, I don't know if I'll ever find my unique path or who I am or what I'm meant to be doing. I think it's breath by breath.
That's amazing. So I'm gonna ask you one question that I did not actually. One last question, hopefully, because we're kind of running out of time a little bit.
Okay.
But from, I know you don't want to give advice, but I still
Yeah.
want you to kind of share one thing. I want you to
Yes.
share one thing that was the most profound understanding, the most profound thing that really was a pivotal moment in your life that kind of changed everything. From everything that you've been through, from all your traveling, from all your studies, from all those different locations and different people that you met, and the books that you read, and everything that you've been through, all your experiences, there's got to be one thing that was really changed everything for you. Can you share what that thing was?
You want me to say my really bad ecstasy trip in Buenos Aires or the profound ayahuasca ceremony? You want like a really sexy answer? Like, I could give you those all happened, because I did all those things. None, it wasn't an experience. It's a lesson that I'm learning. And I said it last night, but it's true. So I'll say it again. The one thing that guides me the most and helps me the most in this spiritual path is being my own best friend. And what that means is being kind to myself in here. When I mess up, when I succeed, when I need encouragement, I really try to never let myself say anything bad about myself or try to speak lashon hara about myself or any mean voices. The number one tip, if someone really asks me, like, what's your advice? We must be kind to ourselves and compassionate and understanding. Life is hard enough. There's loneliness, there's despair, there's depression, there's anxiety. Can I talk to myself nicely? treat myself nicely, speak to myself the way that I want to speak to my children, the way I want. It's really about being my own best friend and support her and encouraging her, because some days I'm going to thrive and some days I'm really not going to, all my bad habits are going to come out, all my bad qualities. And it's like, now what? Now what? So I think that really, if I have advice, it's to be kind to ourselves every day without exception, all the time. It's really as simple as that for me.
So
And
it's
also
it's like a form of self love. It's what you're saying. Love yourself.
perpetual, unconditional, no exceptions, from morning to night, every single day, without fail, kindness, compassion, empathy towards self. And then when that really becomes how we treat ourselves, then that's how we start to treat other people. And that's how I think we heal the world, honestly. Because God, I believe, defines himself as the compassionate one, Harachaman. And we're meant to emulate God. So first things first, before anything, is, well, if I'm talking to myself mean in my own head, that's going to spill out everywhere else. And I'm not going to feel good. And if I don't feel good, I can't show up. So first things first, put myself as my first priority. Treat myself with the utmost kindness and respect. And then you know what's amazing about that, Uzi? Let's say you're like, let's study Torah. If it's not good for me, I'm not going to say yes. And that's amazing, because that means anytime I am hanging out with you, you know that I'm there because I want to and it's good for me. So then you feel confident in our interactions. So it's really a gift we can give each other. Yeah, that would be my one tip, is being kind to ourselves perpetually, all the time. If you don't know how to do this, there's people who can help you. I can help. But it's a perpetual practice, morning, noon, and night. And we're all going to mess up. And then you just keep being kind to yourself and understanding and encouraging. Can I give a quick metaphor?
Yeah, please.
When we're hard on ourselves, when there's mean voices in our head, it's like every time it's like you put like a brick on your head. You don't feel so good. Then you don't feel so good, so then you're mean to yourself. So you put another brick on your head. And then at the end of the day, you feel terrible. It's like, oh, why do I feel so heavy and bad? Well, because there's 15 bricks on my head. And it's like, well, what if I didn't have all those there? Well, then I'd be able to, even if I mess up, have the lightness and the levity to keep going forward. So it's like really our own responsibility to be loving towards ourselves. I do think that this is one of the end times tikkunim. We want to
That's
be love. You want a world of love. You must vibrate love first towards oneself.
that's beautiful. Rabbi Zalman Shneur of Ladi, the author of the Tanya, says that you should love yourself because God is inside of you. You should love that part in you that is just unlimited. And you don't need any reason. Just by being you. That means that if you're here, it means God loves you and needs you. And you have a purpose and you have a mission just by existing. And that's a beautiful insight. What can I tell you? I really, really enjoyed this conversation. And yeah, you can please
I want to
add.
I want to get one controversial notion. It's
Yes.
beautiful what you said, and many of us don't feel that way. And I think that's really important. Like, I don't feel that way. It's not my daily feeling like, oh, I woke up, therefore God believes in me. And therefore I have to be nice to myself, because that beautiful teaching is really not easy for a lot of people, including myself. So then I dafka need to be kind to myself, because that truth, that spiritual truth, I don't feel that naturally. So I appreciate your teaching. And I just wanted to give a little spice there. Because I think even when we feel that and when we don't feel that, we still can be kind to ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think that this is like really, really the most fundamental thing that every human being should do to start seeing positive results in their life. Because really, if you don't manage your thoughts will end up managing you.
Right.
And we don't want to be thoughts creates emotions, and
Right.
emotions that are not in control end up controlling us and pretty much determining our lives. And what does that mean? It means that all our hopes and dreams and everything is being put on hold right now, because we are being controlled by some negative emotions and some thoughts that just went out of order. So we have to really, like you said, every minute of the day, make sure we don't let those negative thoughts penetrate and manage our lives. And that's a beautiful, beautiful thing and a beautiful advice, by the way. And thank you for that.
Thank you,
Um,
Uzi.
I just wanted to kind of, before we end this podcast, to ask you if you want to just share a few maybe final words or meditation or prayer or whatever it is that you want to share before we end this podcast.
Well, I'm still curious to know your answer to all the questions you asked me, but we could save that for another time or another podcast. We'll switch.
Okay.
I'll take the MC. So, Uzi, how do you arrive at authenticity and happiness and pursue your goals and find your authentic path? So now I want to know the flip. But mostly, yeah, I just ask Hashem to give us a bracha to walk our most authentic and true path, to be able to be true with ourselves and others because we've dropped the judgments and it's okay. And we're all going through it together. So I bless us to like really hold each other with kindness through that, and to know that nobody has it worked out, and we're all like I said, we're all walking this path together. You know, like I might come across as a smiling human who's got it worked out, and like thank God I'm smiling, but like no, I don't have anything worked out, and I'm walking the path with everybody, and we all are. And I bless us to be able to do it authentically and kindly and humbly. Please God. That would be my
Absolutely.
prayer.
Yes, for all of us. So, for all the listeners who wants to learn more and use Nili's Salem wisdom, they could come to your website, right?
Yeah,
nilibesimcha.com.
my website, my Facebook. I'll be posting shofar every day in Elul. I'm really excited about
Yeah,
it.
I registered for one because it's my birthday on Elul, so I definitely registered for one.
Oh,
Chai
thank
Elul,
you.
the 18th of Elul.
Woo-hoo! Wow, your birthday is the Baal Shem Tov's birthday.
Yes, thank God. Yes, it's crazy. It's a lot. With great power comes great responsibility. So, like the famous Batman quote. So yes. So Nili Besimcha, Nili Salam on Facebook. Follow, subscribe, and if you want to know about classes coming up, events, anything that's going on, anything that Nili is doing, I think you should definitely follow her. Very, very exciting stuff going on, and also a YouTube channel. They can find you on YouTube, right? Nili Salem. She started
Yep.
posting a lot of stuff there, and you should continue doing that. And yeah, and we're really, really looking forward and excited to see what's going to come up in the future from Nili. So we'll definitely keep you in touch and hopefully have you again on this podcast in the future. Um, so, what can I say? Thank you so
Thank
much
you,
for
Izzy.
taking the time today.
And may Hashem bless you that your goals with this podcast of helping everybody find their most authentic selves and their best path towards themselves and God, may you really help. You know, I know you want to help everybody find their inner influencer. I really bless you to be Matzliach.
Thank you so much
For sure.
for all of us. We'll see you
Cool.
soon. We'll talk. Take care. Bye bye. All right. So we